It's Tanya. Today I'm going to talk to you about oregano essential oil. Now I'll just be very real with you since a lot of you know me. When I got my essential oils kit initially a couple years ago, there were several that I didn't use, didn't like, we'll put, however you want to put it, wasn't familiar with, so I didn't use. Maybe that's the more PC way to say it. And one of those oils was oregano. And I would say it was probably 3 or 4 months after getting my kit that I finally used it for the first time. And I'll tell you why. I think our bodies naturally are drawn to what they're familiar with. So when I got my kit in, I opened up lemon. And of course it smelled like lemon. And I was like, wow, that is just amazing. I love that. And then I smelled the peppermint and I went, oh yeah, that's refreshing. That's great. And then I smelled oregano and I was like, that's not amazing or refreshing. That is not my favorite. And so, I put it back in the box, and every couple of months, I'd be pulling out, Melaleuca or something, and I'd grab oregano by accident, and then I'd be like, oh yeah. So I'd, unscrew the cap and be like, I should really use this. And every time I couldn't quite wrap my head around it. I was like, I just don't foresee myself ever wanting to diffuse this oil. And as it turns out, to this day, I still don't diffuse it. But there's lots and lots of reasons why you should be using it. And there's lots of ways that you can use it that are not diffusing. So that is where I started to do some research on oregano, because obviously, doTERRA knows what they're talking about. And there's a reason if they had to pick out of all their oils, 10 of them to introduce to new people, there's a reason that made the top 10 list. So I started doing some research, and it turns out that it is in that kit for very good reason. Oregano is antibacterial, it's antiviral, it is anti-parasitic, and it's antiseptic. So you get all of those benefits in one oil. And it also is really high in antioxidants, and it has omega-3s. So omega-3s, not sure if you're familiar with or not, but they are so good for your body. So omega-3s have been shown to help with reducing stress and anxiety. They help with mental clarity. They can help lower your blood pressure. And they really help with inflammation. So in addition to all of the immune boosting properties, you actually kind of get all those added bonuses on oregano as well. So let's talk about how to use oregano correctly. And we'll start by me telling you how I use them incorrectly. After deciding I didn't want to diffuse them, I figured, okay, easy enough. I'll cook with them, because my husband's Italian and we eat Italian food in this house all the time. So I always have dried oregano, and I throw it in just about everything I make. And I figured, no, that'll be easy. I'll just use the oil instead. What I was not factoring in was exactly how strong the oil was. So, I'd make myself a little bowl of soup and put a couple drops of oil in there and then stir it up. And every time I was like, oh wow, this is a lot. This is not something that I'm going to get used to. And for good reason. It is not meant to be something that you put 3 or 4 drops in a little bowl of soup. So now when I cook with it, I'll make a big pot of sauce or marinara. So, the proper way to do it, according to the Italians, is you put it in a giant stock pot and it cooks for several days. So now when I make my sauce, I cook it for a couple of days. And then at the end, I'll add the essential oils. But for a giant stock pot, think probably the biggest one that came in whatever set you have, I'm still only using 3 or 4 drops of oregano for the whole thing. And it still flavors it, and it still gives you some of the benefits. But it's not something where all you taste is oregano, because that was kind of my hang up when I was trying to put it in soup and stuff. Now, speaking of putting it in soup, I absolutely do that now. I just dial back how much I was putting in. So one of the best things is if the family's coming down with, cold or flu or something, and you're gonna make them homemade chicken noodle soup, which we all know is amazing for when you're sick. Why not give it an added boost and just put maybe 2 drops, 3 drops of oregano in a family size serving of the soup. So that's what I do with it. The other thing I do pretty regularly is I will dilute it, I'll put it in a roller bottle, dilute it with fractionated coconut oil. And if the kids or I or my husband are sick, we'll apply it to the bottom of the feet, put some socks on it, and put that on before bed. Now I don't put it on anybody's feet before going to school or things like that, because it does have a pretty strong fragrance still. Still, I have not gotten over the smell. But, but for bedtime, it's fine. And it's one of those things when you're sick, you don't, like with medicine, okay, medicine doesn't always taste great, but when you're sick, you take it because it helps heal you. So with oregano, I've had to switch the way I think about it now and stop being upset that it doesn't smell delightful. So I've kind of stopped thinking of it like something that I'm going to do that's going to be like an aromatherapy thing, and start looking at it like medicine. So as medicine, it doesn't matter. I take it because it's so good for you. And it's one of those things where, like I said, with cooking with it, once you learn how to do it correctly and not use just absurd quantities, it tastes great. It tastes just like if you had the dried oregano in there. So we cook with it a lot in this house, and we do apply it topically. One thing I will caution you on is oregano is a really, really hot oil. So with me, even though I have no skin sensitivities, I still always dilute it if I'm going to use it topically. And certainly if you're going to use it with children, make sure you're diluting it. Then the one other thing I'll mention with oregano is if you are pregnant or nursing, definitely talk to a physician before you decide to use it. Oregano is one where it's not generally recommended for that season of life, so that's just something to keep in mind. But I would be interested to hear if you guys have any recipes that you use it in, things like that, because I'm always looking for new ways to incorporate that into my daily life as well. Thanks, guys.